Alright, my name is Chris. This is my weekly review of NXT, February 19th. It opened up with, I guess the Undisputed Era came out. Oh, jeez, I'm really ruining this. For highlights, Velveteen Dream interrupted them and suggested a one-on-one match, which never happens with the Undisputed Era, so more on that later. After that, there was a cruiserweight match between Lio Rush and Jordan Devlin. Some highlights from that match, from what I saw. Unfortunately, they were playing commercials. They were playing commercials during the match, so part of that awesomeness was during one of those commercials where Lio Rush is doing a rope switch. So, you know, most people go up like across and up and down. He was kind of going ooh, 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 and that was really cool. It's really hard because you and your opponent both have to get out of the way and know the same kind of schematics it takes for stuff like that to work, which I thought was really cool. He only did it for a little bit, but it was a really good highlight. Another really great highlight from that match was a side Poison Rana. So he was on the top rope, flipped his body, and then Poison Rana him. Poison Rana is basically where it's a Hurricane Rana, but it's a reverse. So your legs are grabbing you ended up on his back and then flipping him, which has been really popular for cruiserweights lately, which I thought was really cool. Obviously, Jordan Devlin had secured the victory in that match. He just became cruiserweight champion from a past pay-per-view. I think it was like a 4-way. But Lio Rush is really cool. He's obviously trusted backstage if he's opening shows for NXT. So definitely a good thing to have cruiserweights in NXT and not have 205 Live. But that's just my opinion. 205 Live is fine. But just incorporate it on one show instead of separating everything. Backstage after that was Tegan Nox or Dakota Kai talking about the Tegan Nox match, and she has her new brute with her. I don't remember her name. I was trying to get her name for like the last 5 minutes. I could have rewound it, but that's a developing story. William Regal came out and said, you know, you're having a cage match next week with Dakota Kai, so get ready for that. After that, Austin Theory came out, and it was versus no one. It was like a question mark just because Tommaso Ciampa came out and interrupted him, and he basically said like not today, as in like bothering him. And he went over basically his hatred for Johnny Gargano and how he needs to rid him of the NXT for him to feel like he's free again. Which to me says that they're either getting rid of Tommaso Ciampa or they're going to get rid of Johnny Gargano, either by moving them up, both, or moving one up and move the other up. No one knows. It shouldn't be predictable, but the WWE has been known to ruin predictabilities like that because they already ruined... Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair. They basically said, like, hey, we're going to have this match at WrestleMania, and to make it look like it's not predictable, we're going to have this pay-per-view match for the championship 2 weeks after Charlotte Flair already basically challenged Rhea Ripley for the NXT Women's Championship. As a wrestling fan, we all know it's just kind of fodder for background story and getting caught and then realizing you got caught and trying to backtrack. At least that's what I think anyway. But back to Tommaso Ciampa. Basically got interrupted by Austin Theory, so he punched him. Austin Theory interrupted him again. Tommaso Ciampa grabbed him and threw him against the guardrail like 20 times, which was pretty hilarious. Next week they're having a match, I guess a singles match, which is kind of like a blow-up match or whatever it is for Austin Theory. He's just gonna get slaughtered, or a slaughter match, kind of like whenever you watch Monday Night Raw and Braun Strowman's facing anyone, usually it's a slaughter match because he destroys them really fast. So yeah, so just to give you an example of what that is, he basically said there can be no Johnny Gargano. I think I already went over that, for him to be free or feel free. The next match was Raul Mendoza versus Jacqueline Wilde. versus Zach Gibson and James Drake, the Grizzled Young Veterans. It was a really fast match. Really good tag team work. They're both really good tag teams. Really, it's like speed versus technicality. One of the things I noticed that I really liked was one of the members of the Grizzled Young Veterans got whipped into the corner, and his partner went and like basically, so the corner's like that. He guardrailed the corner with his body, kind of like laid on it, so that the guy wouldn't get hurt, which I thought was really cool. I haven't seen that yet in any wrestling recently. I believe the Grizzled Young Veterans won that match. They did. So the next match, Pete Dunne and Matt Riddle, the Broserweights, the newly declared tag team champions, which I never thought would occur based on history of making makeshift tag teams in the WWE. Okay, so they were facing Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. Really cool move from that is it was like a sunset flip, snap neck backbreaker, so like a flip over, but like a grab over, and then the way it was executed was really good. If you ever get a chance to watch that, I wish I could play little parts and snippets from moves that I like. I'm still figuring that out, so this is the first video that I'm going to be doing for NXT Weekly stuff. Getting rights to using stuff that isn't mine is something I'll figure out eventually. Perhaps you can see what I'm talking about instead of me describing it and, stuttering and stuff. Okay, so... yeah, so Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne, I like them because they're both completely different. One's kind of like a mixed martial artist and all about power. Pete Dunne's like a flyer, but also kind of like a, physical person, but more of a flyer than Matt Riddle, though he does jump off the top rope a lot, so hard to kind of rule either of those guys out. But the unpredictability of both of those guys makes them a really unpredictable and therefore, I think, watchable tag team. After that, Keith Lee came out, basically has the crowd in the grasp of his hand. I love Keith Lee. Conor Reed interrupts him, basically got shoulder tackled by Keith Lee, and ends the match within seconds with his finisher. Dominik Dijakovic comes out, and the Fight Forever chant begins, and he said, if you can get Regal to sign it, I'll do another match with you. After that was Karen Carter versus the Robert Stone brand Chelsea Green. I know Karen Carter was held under another name. I'm not sure. I think she was in the Mae Young Classic. I wrote that. She had a few botches on the ropes. She came back. Chelsea Green finishes the match with the Unprettier, which is Edge's finisher, or one of the... It's already has a name, and it already looks exactly like that finisher, so I'm not sure what's going on there. And in the middle of the match, Bianca Belair comes out and challenges Charlotte Flair because she said, you don't even go here, and I'm not going to be looked over, and we're going to figure something out. The finale of the finale of NXT was Roderick Strong versus Velveteen Dream, which I'm really glad to see Velveteen Dream back in the rope. It's been over 5 months. It's his in-ring debut in the last 5 months. He's a little rusty. You could tell, I think on the ropes, he tried doing, a leapfrog, but it looked like Roderick Strong wasn't ready for that, or there was something else planned. He'll shake off the ring rust. He's a good wrestler. He's extremely young, so he'll figure it out. Roderick Strong has, probably the strongest chest slaps I've ever heard. I don't know if that's just with Velveteen Dream, but, you can hear it echoing, and it's been a while since I've heard it sound like you're hitting a piece of wood or metal as opposed to skin. Velveteen Dream eventually reveals his new tights within the match, which was Roderick Strong's wife on the bottom and the crotch of Velveteen Dream. Of course, Undisputed Era comes out, ruins everything. Velveteen Dream still wins, but hopefully we see more of Velveteen Dream, especially in WrestleMania in the future, pay-per-views. Hopefully he can shake off his ring rust. Gathering highlights from that. But yeah, I'm just glad to see Keith Lee's doing so well. A man of his size, it's really hard to be athletic and talented and not screw things up. So yeah, this has been my weekly review of NXT, and hopefully I'll see you guys next week. I'll see somebody next week. I'm just gonna keep doing this till I get better at it, and hopefully there'll be less fumbling and botches on my end. Take care.